I'm done with feeling tired and burnt out 24/7. I'm done with overstretching to achieve arbitrary goals. For the past year, I've been getting up at 3 a.m. every single day. And now that I've had some time to reflect, I want to share the truth of what I've learned from this experiment. The truth of how the constant pursuit for productivity can end up becoming detrimental and pointless if you aren't careful. I believe that I've found something much more important than productivity in my life. And my hope is that by making this video, you're able to avoid some of the pitfalls that I fell into myself. It's important to remember that I'm only 19 and that I too am still figuring out all of this for myself as I go along. So let me take you back, all the way back to where it all began, back to the land of self-help. I was probably in my sophomore year when I first heard the term self-help. This idea that you can maximize your results through a series of simple and repeatable tasks fascinated me. After all, at the time, I was a scrawny 16-year-old who was deeply insecure about his body image. And self-help gave me a practical way to tackle those problems. First came the workout, then the calorie counting. And I'm not saying any of this was or is unhealthy. Working out gave me a period of isolation, where I was able to silence my inner dialogue. But like most things in life, they become unhealthy when you obsess over it. Seeing the progress that I was making in the gym confirmed my inner belief that if I want to succeed, it meant that I would have to outwork everyone around me. Seeing how successful self-help was, it felt natural for deep work, early mornings, and time blocking to be my next progression. Things were going great. Well, for a little bit. See, the interesting thing about self-help is how it initially acts as rocket fuel to launch you into the stratosphere. But in order for you to feel like you're still making progress, you have to keep exerting the same, if not more effort. And that's where things slowly begin to fall apart, because life gets messy. And what you thought your life was today may not be the same one you'll be living tomorrow. What happens if you miss a day? Do you feel guilty? Or do you try harder the next day to make it up? What I realize now that I hadn't at the time is that self-help and this focus on productivity was making me rigid. My life had become devoid of spontaneity, which is something that I am constantly striving for. And what remained in this place was frustration and dissatisfaction.
When you live in that kind of struggle where it's just pure necessity, like I'm scrubbing dishes and on the late nights at the restaurant where I could tell the boss is gonna be like, if somebody wants to go home early tonight, they can. I hide in the kitchen so I don't go home early because I can't afford to miss a half an hour of pay. You spend that time. For me, it was like 40, 50, 60 hours a week. When I had a second job in a kitchen, it was 70, 80 hours a week. You spend that time just fantasizing about what you want to do with your life.
Society often romanticizes the people who have managed to defy all odds and overcome all their challenges to shape their reality the way they envisioned it. This is quote-unquote making it. What people don't see is that inflection point, when they decide to take that calculated step.
And I moved to New York City, and that was really to pursue a dream.
For me, I didn't want to take that step yet because I didn't know what I wanted out of life. But like most things in life, sometimes you're just forced to take that step. Let me explain. Typically, Asian parents are in the rush for their kids to become successful because they are competitive and they want to be the proud owners of the most successful child. And as the child, your job is to listen to them and try your best to follow their directions. Now, this begins to fall apart when the child's vision of success is vastly different from that of their parents. Usually this will result in many arguments until one side submitted to the other, but neither of us could submit because submitting and letting go would have went against everything that we were striving for up until that point. I didn't know what I wanted. All I knew was that I was free-falling. And as I was free-falling, I clinged on to anything and everything that gave me a sense of comfort and belonging. But these feelings of fear and isolation didn't become apparent to me until after I turned 18, when I got kicked out. Now, no, this is not a sob story and doesn't make my parents bad parents or anything. After all, they did let me back in after a little bit. I'm telling you this because it gives context as to why I started waking up at ungodly hours. With this newfound uncertainty, I began leaning deeper and harder into the systems and routines that had provided me with comfort and success up until that point. My mindset at the time was that anything could be willed into existence with enough effort. the equation in my brain looked a little something like this. Effort plus direction equals success. Since neither of us could compromise, my thinking at the time was that I just need to prove myself. Mornings became my time to experiment and work towards my own goals, away from distractions. The difficulty for me wasn't getting up. It was getting enough sleep. There are multiple studies that show that the number of people who can survive on 5 hours of sleep or less without any impairment when rounded to a whole number is 0. I vividly remember those days when I got up having slept only a few hours and being able to feel my heartbeat. It felt like I was going to die. And if I'm completely honest here, sleeping less than 4 hours for an entire year probably shaved off a few years of my life. The early mornings and all the routines I implemented was the effort side of the equation. But if you hadn't already realized, I was missing a part of this equation. I didn't know where I wanted to go. I felt like a hamster on a wheel, running as hard as I could, but getting nowhere. And that is where the true irony of productivity lies. I was so focused on getting there that it left no room for me to consider where. It became the very thing that got in the way of meaningful progress. I'm going to make the argument that a lot of people are like me. They initially seek out self-help because it feels like there's something missing in their lives. Maybe they were seeking validation or comfort, like I was. Or maybe they don't even realize it. It was difficult for me to articulate it at the time, but I now realize that I had developed this subtle sickness. It left me constantly wanting more and rendered me utterly incapable of enjoying the present. Consciously or unconsciously, I felt broken inside, in need of fixing. Work became the band-aid to this ever-growing ravine. As I buried myself inside this fictional to-do list, I let life pass by me. I don't have many memories from the past year. It all just seems like a blip or a dream on an ever-accelerating timeline. And that just isn't how I want my life to pass by. I want to remember the good, the bad, and the mundane. Originally, I created this channel because I want to prove to my father that I could be successful in my own pursuits. But creating videos has become something much broader than that now. It has become a medium in which I can express my thoughts and a vehicle for me to relive some of my memories. When I first started this journey, I didn't know where I wanted to go, so I just wandered in a sea of possibilities, hoping that I would find it. And in the process of searching, I ended up finding myself. Despite me telling you this, I know that most of you won't be able to relate unless you've experienced something similar yourself. So go out there and try something new. Experiment to see what you like and what you don't. And as you do, you'll eventually find that there is so much to enjoy from life as long as you slow down and go through it intentionally. As this year-long experiment comes to an end, I'm glad to say that I will no longer be waking up at 3 a.m. I've also realized that life isn't about winning or losing. It's about making the most out of every opportunity and enjoying the journey while you're on it, because eventually your journey will come to an end. And if all you remember is that blip at the top, then was it really worth it? Anyways, I hope this video had some value to you. Love you. Okay, before you go, I would just like to say thank you so much for staying till the end. It really means a lot. This video has taken me forever to create because I really want to show my story accurately. Anyways, I hope you're having a great day. See you in the next one.